Does this describe you? Brave, entrepreneurial, accommodating, flexible, determined, generous, caring, family-oriented, hardworking, persistent, compassionate, philanthropic, putting faith in action? Well, those are some pretty heavy adjective shoes to fill for any of us, to be sure, but not for today's guest. I have the wonderful privilege to introduce to you Luis David Fuentes, one of our 11 commissioners serving on the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights, as well as the editor and director of El Kentubano. That's like Kentucky and Cuban, kind of mixed, which is a publication originally designed to support Cuban Americans living in the Louisville area. Luis also wears the hat of a professional environmental engineer, and he serves as a board member to the Gildas Club Kentuckiana. It's spelled with a G, Gildas, which is a nonprofit organization that supports those receiving a cancer diagnosis as well as their loved ones. You're going to love his story from Cuba to Kentucky. We talk mindsets, attitudes, racism, socialism, human rights, and faith. One thing I noticed time and again was Luis's deep appreciation and gratitude for the United States of America. He is a champion, a fighter, and some might even say a hero. Welcome to the Choose to Think podcast. I'm Victoria Walker, and today we're going to unpack one immigrant's view on living the dream. And here's Luis.
I'm a very proud Cuban American. As you said, I came here 20 years ago. From Cuba, I went to Chile in 1997. After 3 years, I came to the United States, which has been the best decision that I have taken in my life. So I am a mechanical engineer. In Cuba, I was able to get my degree. When I came to the United States, I had a really hard beginning as an immigrant. I found a job. I came here to Kentucky, first of all, because my aunt, she at that time she was living in New York. She came on the 60s from Cuba. And when I was in Chile, I was in touch with her. I was planning to come to the United States, but I didn't want to come to Miami. Miami is the mecca for the Cuban community. That is almost 2 million Cubans there in Miami. But I wanted to go and spend a couple of years some place, out of Miami, just for learning the real American environment, and also for trying to learn English. My aunt had two daughters, my cousins. One of them got married with a guy that his family was from Frankfort, Kentucky. So when I told my aunt about my plans to come to the United States, she said that she had some relative in Frankfort, Kentucky. It was the first time that I heard about Kentucky. So she said that if I could come to here, somebody will be, helping me to find an apartment, or to give me some tips during the first, time here. So me and my wife, she's from Cuba. We met in Chile, and we came together. And we came to Kentucky with the idea to stay a couple of years, no more than that, and later come back to Florida. Again, it was 20 years ago. So we arrived here. We didn't speak any English. We didn't know, nobody. It was a really hard times, because also in Cuba the whole year is summertime. We arrived here in February. It was really cold, snow, which also is, really hard for a Cuban person. However, we started, going through the new society. I found a job in Shelbyville. It was a Belgian company that they were drawing wires, and I started actually sweeping the floor. And my wife started, working in a Mexican restaurant as a hoster, because we needed to, to pay our bills, and again, was a really hard period of time because we didn't speak English, we didn't know anybody. The weather was, enemy, and it still is my enemy here. I love Kentucky. I fell in love of Kentucky, but winter time is not a good season for me. So after 3 years in this factory, I applied for actually, after 1 year later, to be working on that factory, I applied for a position as an environmental coordinator, and I got this position. And for 2 years, I was learning about all these regulations, the all the vocabulary about hazardous waste, pollution, and that is why I decided to get my engineering degree. So I start preparing myself every night. I was spending 3 4 hours every day trying to get my to prepare for 2 exams for becoming a environmental engineer. And in 2006, I was able to pass these 2 exams, and I became a professional environmental engineer. I applied for the government to the Division for Air Quality here in Frankfurt. I actually spent 11 years working for the government, for the Commonwealth, as an environmental professional engineer, which was a really good opportunity, to learn how things were working here. I made a lot of friends. It was such a really good time. But in the meantime, from 2000, I was working for the state from 2006 till 2017. But in the meantime, in 2009, I start noticing that many Cubans were coming to Kentucky, especially to Louisville, Kentucky. Um, why? Because if you compare with Miami, with any town actually in Florida, the cost of living here was much lower. The insurance, the salaries, the home properties or renting, everything was cheaper. So people were coming to here to Kentucky, because also there is a couple of agencies, the Kentucky Refugee Minister and the Catholic Charities, that they had a program for receiving the immigrants, and they were helping, some, not only Cubans, or immigrants around the world, but Cubans. The first Cubans were coming were setting in Louisville, because these two agencies, that they were helping, giving some English classes, and some kind of helps to these immigrants. But the first Cubans came through this couple of agencies. Later, they were, talking with friends, with cousins and relatives in Florida, say, okay, we here is a little hard because the winter. However, we are making, let's say at that time, 12 or 13 or $14 per hour, when in Miami they were making, half of that. And they say we are paying around, $400 $500 for an apartment. In Miami it costs twice. So people were saying, okay, let's go to Louisville, Kentucky. So back in when I came here in 2000, there were less than 400, 500 Cubans. In 2010, which is the last census, there were here in Kentucky around 11,000 Cubans. And this year, there is a census going on. The results will be ready. I understand that they will be ready next year in April. At that time, many people will be surprised to see the number of Cubans. My personal information, this is not an official number, but I will say that we surpassed the 25,000 Cubans here in Louisville. 90% of them, here in Kentucky, 90% of these 25,000 are in Louisville. In 2009, I decided to, as a hobby, to publish, a publication, a tabloid, because the main reason was trying to help my community um, to understand, to educate about the new society. Why? Because, as I said before, as an immigrant, everything is really hard. It's like to be born again. You have to learn the new language. You have to deal with the new culture, the new weather. There is new regulations or new laws, especially for Cubans. It's complicated because we are coming from a country that is, I used to say, 180 degrees different. Everything here works different than in Cuba. So when we arrive here, we have to learn how to use what is a checking account, how to use a credit card, what paying taxes or having an insurance, even to drive. Everything is new for us. So we have to learn as much as possible too many new things. And here in Kentucky, which is different than, for example, in Miami, that you have publications, TV, radio stations, a lot of information. Here, the sources of information were really limited. That is why I say I want to print some kind of tabloid, first for keeping our roots alive, to talk about some news or things about Cuba, but also for um, again educating or giving some good information to people. For example, how to open a business, what a DUI means, what you should do for applying for a credit card, all these things. So in 2009, I printed Il Kentubano. Il Kentubano, the name is the combination of Kentucky and Cubano. So, and again, the target at that time was the Cuban community, because all my information, the books, all the reference that I have is from Cuba, because I'm from Cuba. But later, years later, other people from other communities, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, they were calling me and they say, okay, we like what you're doing, so we really would like to see our countries represented there. I, I start putting more information, including other Hispanic countries, information. And right now, again, when I printed the first time, they were around 20 pages, around 1,000 copies. And today we are actually printing a publication. Actually, the next week will be August, and August will be the 11th anniversary of the publication. So we are talking about something that we created 11 years ago. Today we are printing, like a magazine, around 90 pages with different sections. We have, real estate, education, health, small businesses, sport, culture, local news, local articles, a lot of information for helping the community to be better friends, better parents, better citizens, better people. So I'm really proud of this project. Again, have been 11 years learning, because again, it was not my background. is something that we start doing little by little. When I say we, is I'm doing almost everything here in my computer. I am I have a designer, which is a freelancer that I'm paying her for doing the design because I am not a designer. A couple of years ago, I hired a journalist, somebody from our community that is helping me to do the local articles and interviews. And we have another person that is helping me with distribution. So it's a very small team. And it's funny because some people when they see the quality of the paper of the magazine that we are doing, some people call me and say, I'm calling you because I want to know where is the Il Kentubanos building because I'm trying to apply for a job. And I say, well, it's not a building. I'm actually doing El Cantubano in my office, in the basement of my home. And people don't believe that. But again, it's because, we are coming from a different country. And when they see, this product, they, they, they like, get surprised to see, again, I'm just bringing up the point that I am really proud to see, what we have been doing for many years and the job, the works that we have been doing for the community, providing good information, doing, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to ask you, you had 20 pages and about 1,000 copies when you first launched 11 years ago, and now you're up to about 90 pages. How many copies are you distributing? And if I'm not mistaken, I think you don't charge for that, correct?
Yeah, well, right now we are printing between 9,000, 10,000 copies. It's a monthly publication and it's a free publication. What it means is that I am placing copies anywhere where the Hispanic community, go. I'm talking about grocery stores, lawyer's office, dentist office, anywhere where people, from the Hispanic community goes. I'm placing copies there.
What types of mindsets or attitudes do you think an immigrant really needs to have? And we could even talk about even today in today's climate. What are qualities or characteristics of immigrants that you think are most important as they attempt to overcome all of these obstacles, the least of which, or the greatest, I guess, of which would be the language barrier?
As I said before, I'm really proud Hispanic American people. And I have a really good concept about the immigrants. Why? And I see it in my community. Usually, when you take the decision to leave your country and to leave behind your neighbor, your family, your relative, everything, is something that remarkable. It's something that not too many people are ready to do that. So when you arrive to a new place, a place that everything is different, as I said before, the language, the culture, the weather, you have to put an extra effort. So what I mean is that at least from my community, they are people that they are very brave, people that they are a, very a driving community, a very entrepreneurial community. They arrive here and they have to, as I said before, it's like to be born again. But what I have seen from, in that case, the Hispanic and the Cuban community, they 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 start trying to learn English as soon as possible. They try to accommodate to the new society. They buy their homes in 2 or 3 years after arriving here. They start trying to open small businesses, to send their kids to college, um, which at the end makes a really prosperous community. This is what I have seen with the Cuban community. I see a lot of people that to me, actually, this is one of the most entrepreneurial community around the world. I don't see, I don't know any other. For example, I'm talking about the Cuban community, this immigrant community. I have not seen in any place or any city around the world a community that have more per capita businesses, small business owners. Of course, in Miami, you will find more Cuban restaurant, more, everything because you have more people. But here in Louisville, for the amount of people that we are, is amazing how many realtors, how many daycares, how many barber shop, how many restaurants, how many grocery stores. I'm talking about the small businesses, which is a proof that people they want to succeed and they want to and the other thing is that, for example, the Cuban community, we have to pay our bills, we have to make our life. Plus, we have to take care of our family that we left behind because Cuba is a communist socialist system that doesn't nothing works there. People are a really poor situation. That is why 25% of the population have emigrated in the last 60 years. We actually are um, uh, with the money that we are sending every month to our family, to parents, siblings, relative, we are actually um, uh, sustaining. How do you say sostener?
Yeah, sustaining. You
Sustaining,
had it.
yeah, the our family. So actually it's a double responsibility, to do whatever is necessary here, to have a good life, to educate your kids, to do, the regular things, plus sustaining your family in Cuba. So again, I'm really proud to be part of this community, to see, to know a lot of teachers. Just for example, I know more than 250 Cubans that they are on the Jefferson County Public School system teaching, the American kids. I know people that they are working in really very good position in important companies. I know doctors, I know lawyers, I know um, uh, um, again people that they just want to go to the next step. They don't want to stay in a factory, doing the same job. So I know a lot of small business owners. As I said before, per capita, I don't see there is any other city around the world, even in Cuba, that have more small businesses owned by Cubans than here in Louisville, Kentucky.
Very good.
Um,
I think, Louise, that you've captured that mindset and those attitudes of the immigrants so well. What I heard you say was that they are brave, they are determined, entrepreneurial,
mhm,
they have a desire to succeed, and they're very compassionate, loving, in the sense that not only are they holding down responsibilities here in the States, but often
mhm,
they're also helping and assisting their families in out, abroad, perhaps back in Cuba.
mhm,
I I want to shift a little bit now our discussion and talk about any type of of racism or prejudices that you may have experienced in your 20 years here in the United States. And if there's a particular instance or example that you can think of when you would say, yes, I was the on the receiving end of someone else's prejudice. And then how did you
Mhm.
handle that? What was that like? Does anything come to
Yeah.
mind?
Yes. Yes and no. Um, l- when I said at the beginning that I fell in love of this country and this city, one of the reasons is because my expectations were really low. I came here to the United States listening all the time when I was in the school that the U.S. was the enemy of Cuba. I was listening all the time that people were actually starving here, that the police were abusing everybody, that homeless were, populating everywhere. So when I came here and I see, how this country, the opportunities and everything, I actually, I fell in love. Of course, you can have bad people and good people in every corner of the world. Anywhere you see, more friendly people or more rough people, or all kind of people. However, here, when I came here, as I said before, I started working in Shelbyville, which is a town. Most of the people were, that were working there with me. They were from the country. They actually, I think, was the first time that they saw a Cuban guy. My English was today is not good. 20 years ago was crazy. Um, my memories, I still have good friendship, with most of them. I um, I found, really good people. They were really friendly with me. Again, I came here expecting to see, poverty, homeless, discrimination, and I found exactly the contrary. That is why, again, this is one of the reasons why I I I love this country, and I don't want to lose any opportunity to show, how grateful and how privileged I am for being here. So again, yes, situations and bad people or bad police or bad managers you can find everywhere. But at least from my point of view, based on my experience here in the United States, um, I was expecting or seeing that I found. So I have good memories. I have good experiences. By the way, 2 years ago, the previous governor appointed me as one of the commissioners for the Human Rights Commission of Kentucky. So in the last 2 years, I have been working as a commissioner representing my Hispanic community as again, commissioner for the Human Rights Commission of Kentucky. Twice a month, I'm going to Louisville. We are meeting with the rest of the commissioners. We are going through all the claims or the complaints from people here in the Commonwealth. I can see that, of course, you always see some Hispanic people that they feel discriminated or they had some rough situation. But if I compare with the rest of the 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 minorities, let's say the Afro Americans or other people, from the side from the country, um, I see that they have a low percent, which again makes me feel that if you read on the media, and this is my point of view, you will see a lot of problems. You will see always the negative sides of the society. But at least from my experience, I don't have any complaint. What I see is lower than the standard course anywhere around the world. Here, as an immigrant, you have a lot of rights, you have a lot of opportunities. Even, let's say, people that they don't have, the documents, that they are undocumented. I see that they have rights to bring their kids to the school, which it doesn't happen. I have had the opportunity to go around the world. I spent 3 years living in South America. Once here, this company that I started working in Shelbyville was a Belgian company. So I had the opportunity to go to Europe, to Belgium, for training a lot of times. And after that, our hobby is traveling. So I have gone through, I would say, more than 25 countries, in these 20 years. This is our main, hobby. Just go and travel. Yes, we spend. We go to the let's say, for example, when you go to Paris, yes, we go to the tower, to the Eiffel Tower. However, the kind of tourists that we like to do is talk with people. We want to we usually we go to the grocery stores, we walk, the streets. We talk with the people to learn how they think, how the situation. So we have had the opportunity to learn in person how the world is doing. And that is why I said, as I said before, this is, United States is not a perfect country, but to me, it's the best country around the world. And talking about the immigrants, the way this country treat the immigrants, again, is something that is a luxury. Non-immigrant around the world, in Europe, in South America, have the privilege or the rights that we have here in United States. But again, always there is a room for space for improving. But based on my experience, this is it's not the paradise, but to me is close, very close to that.
Now, before we go on, let's take a quick break from our sponsors. You were born and raised in Cuba, leaving, 20 years ago. And your children, on the other hand, have been born here in the United States. So their experience is going to be vastly different, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, this appreciation that you have for the United States, for that immigrant mentality and mindset, and your drivenness, your determination, and so forth, how do you pass that on to your children who have lived, maybe we could say, a more
Mm-hmm.
privileged life, and they haven't exactly had the hardships that you endured when you were
Mm-hmm.
growing up? So can you
Yeah.
talk to how you help your children stay sensitive to all of these issues? Certainly traveling is
Yes.
going to be a big factor there, but how
Mm-hmm.
do you educate your own children regarding these issues?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Again, me and my wife, we are really proud the way we are raising, our kids and educating them. We have the advantage, let's say in that way, that we are coming from, a different country, that we are coming from, we have a different point of view, especially from Cuba, that we have a lot of necessities. Most people there were poor people, so we have no any enough food, even food, for we still have a ration book there in Cuba. So yes, we are trying to. Fernanda, my oldest daughter, she's 16 years old, and Luis Manuel is my son. He's 14 years old. It's complicated because, again, all their friends are American, friends. They spend most of the day, in school with them, so they are exposed to the real, normal environment. But in home, we are trying to first we keep a really good communication. We talk with them a lot every day. We don't lose any opportunity to bring examples. How was our childhood, and what you know, how lucky they are for living here, and not only about the material things, not only about having an iPad or a cell phone or computer, or a good a refrigerator food full of food. Also the freedom. How lucky they are for living in a country that you can read and have internet and search and have different opinions. How lucky you are for voting, for criticizing, let's say, for example, the president or the mayor or a politician. Um, so we are speaking Spanish in home. So they are perfect bilinguals because, again, the 2 or 3 hours that we have them in home, the communication, after school. Now everything is different because of COVID, but in the regular situation, the normal situation, we try to, for example, in home, we cook Cuban food and we listen Cuban music, and in the car we listen Cuban music. So it's funny that they actually are they know about the Cuban culture very well, for the food, for the sport, for the different things about our culture. But it is because we are talking with them. We are trying to pass all the details that we are bringing, based on our background. And also, as you said, traveling and going out is something really, really good for them. Have been something great for them, because I remember, we went to Cuba. I think we have gone 3 or 4 times, and every time that they come back, from Cuba for all these trips to Cuba, it is like 3 or 4 years of mature. I don't know if I say the right word. Um, um,
Like a kind of grow up
everything.
overnight.
Yes, yes, because the amount of things that they see, the amount of things that they discover, or the amount of how could I say, to be exposed to this different kind of life, to see how value is a piece of bread, let's say, for example, or a shoes, and they come back and they see that they have 3 or 4 of each. When in Cuba, their cousins, they only have one, they have one pant or one shirt. It's something that have made them to give values to every single thing here. And also, as I said before, it's not only the material things, also the how this system, how this country is. I'm just trying to bring, how um, I don't know, Victoria, how to say that. I mean, it's
Oh, I think you've said it really well. I'm just taking notes here and scribbling things down as you go,
uh,
but I think you've really articulated that very well, and your children sound very open and embracing of their heritage, as well as mindful of the privilege that they've been given here through virtue of parents who struggled early on in their own lives before coming here. So I think you did a great job illustrating that. If you could give a message to Americans just in general, or to Kentuckians, if we want to narrow it down, about what you would like for Americans to think about Cubans or Hispanics or Latinos, however you prefer. I think you were saying the Hispanic Americans. What would you like our impression to be of your culture, your family, and just your immigrant status? How would you like others to view you, perhaps in ways that you haven't mentioned already, if you can think of any?
I have to divide it in two parts. And the first, as a, as a immigrant, that we come from a different country. The first thing is that I want to, as I said before, I want to show my appreciation. I want to show how grateful we are for being here. And I want to say thank you to all of you for receiving us, for supporting us, for giving us a place here, and for giving all the tools for making our dreams come true. For example, having a publication, El Kentuano, somebody who arrived here without anything, just a baggage full of dreams. I actually have no any money. I only have plans and dreams in my head, and I was able, even with my bad English, to accomplish too many things. It's because where we are, and you have all the tools in front of you to go ahead and to accomplish whatever you set as a plan. So in one side, and really, I want to send this message that we, in behalf of the whole Hispanic community and the all the immigrants, I really grateful for how for being here. And the second, and again, this is my point of view based on my experience. I'm trying to avoid all these political issues because I think that when you talk about politics or religion, or it is an opportunity for debate, and maybe some people won't understand you. Different parties, all these things. However, living in the current times, I really would like to send a message, and it is that I left Cuba because of socialism. So be careful what you wish for. This is my final message. Again, I love this country. I fell in love with the United States, but I wish to be in Cuba with my people, with my neighbor, with my relative, and I left Cuba because this system. I'm just saying that because it's the first time that I see here in 20 years people talking about socialism like something cool, like something good. On books, it is beautiful. However, the reality is different. I'm just saying that because I came from there. I'm missing my country. I'm missing my family. I actually just uh, the 25,000 Cubans that are in Louisville and the 2 million Cubans, almost 3 million here in the United States, are here because we don't want that. I really would like to again to show my appreciation to this country. And I know that it's not a perfect country. Always there is opportunities for improving, for but we have the tools here. We have the channels. You can write letters. You can send emails. You can set a meeting with representative councilmen, and, 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 and bring ideas. This is something that I cannot do in my country. In Cuba, since there is just one political party, the Communist Party, they even they don't allow any suggestion. They don't want anything for changing. Of course, there is a minority living like kings, and they don't have any limitation. 99% of the population is, starving. But here you have all the tools, you have the free expression, you have the vote, you have all these things that you can use. So be careful about, being violent. Be careful about the protest, the way you protest, and be careful about these ideas, because socialism doesn't work.
I wanted to talk a little bit about faith. You have shared a lot about the importance of community and respect in the community, helping each other out, joining together. You've spoken about resiliency of the immigrant and determination and so forth, and just how important that family and community really are. But I wonder about faith. Could you speak to the importance of your faith, maybe, regarding all of this? Would you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I'm open for any. The Actually, 2 years ago we created the Cuban American Association of Kentucky. It's a group of people, for the community, that we have been helping the community. People that they are a low income person, people that they don't have, some kind of situation. We have been doing events for the community, collecting things for many people. I actually last year I was also appointed one of the board for the director. The board of the Hilda's Club Kentuckiana. Hilda's Club Kentuckiana is an organization, a national organization that is helping and supporting families that they have related with cancer. So again, trying to be the bridge between this kind of organization and the local Hispanic community. I have been, acting, in this, for example, in the Human Rights Commission, as I said before, and also in the Hilda's Club, trying to help all these families. So, coming back to your question, I have learned a lot during the last, the last 20 years when I came to the United States. Of course, nothing is perfect. As I said before, you always have opportunities for being a better citizen or a better human being. But for sure, God have played a really good role in my family, because we have discovered many things that we didn't see before. And again, the reason is because we are coming from a country that everything was different, and here you have the freedom to read, to learn, to know people, to be honest, and to show your feelings, which is different than the way I was arising. The faith and the religion for Cuban is a little complicated. Why? Because, for example, my mother was a Catholic, and I'm still, by some kind practicing this religion and this faith. But the reason is because when Castro took the power in 1959, he actually closed all the church. He actually sent to exiles all the sacerdotes, or all the leaders of the church. So for more than 30 years was prohibited talking or expressing or showing faith in Cuba, only to the Communist Party. It was not until 1998 I already had left Cuba, because I left Cuba in 1997. So my whole life we were acting like ateos, like people that they have no any belief or any faith in God. So in 1998, Castro invited the Pope to Cuba, and at that time they start opening all the church and all these things. That is why my based on my education, I really even when I believe in God, I have faith. And uh, let For example, my kids, the elementary school, they were in the Good Shepherd school here in Frankfurt, because we wanted to keep alive this faith and this belief on them, something that we could not give to them, because again we were educated under this system. So I would say that more or less it happens the same with the Cuban community. It's different than the rest of the Hispanic community. Most of them are Catholic, but in other countries like Mexico, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Colombia, they it was they were freedom. So people, they could go to the church and to express and to give their belief about religion. In Cuba, at least, my period of time that I was living there was a taboo, was a problem, because the communist government, again, abolished everything regarding the religion. So I brought my faith, and I had my faith because my mother, in secret, talking, to me and my brother in Cuba, he actually was talking and teaching me about the Bible, about the Christ. However, again, it was hiding. You could not express, and I remember that she was telling me, you cannot talk about this conversation in the school. You cannot talk, what we are talking now with your friends, because it was a big problem. I know people that they went to jail because expressing their religion. They had discrimination. They could not go to some schools or universities because they were professing faith. So our background is a little complicated, because this this government in Cuba, at least during the first 30 years, they had this. We were under this circumstance, which is sad. Yeah,
Right. Was your wife's experience similar then?
same. Yeah,
The same?
same.
Okay.
Mhm. So we
And
believe in God. We used to go to the church, a couple of times per year. Even when I believe in God and I have my own belief, the way we were educated was not the best friendly way to the church, because of that. Because Castro prohibited and closed all the doors for the church. So it was a taboo. It was a problem going to the church or expressing that you were believing in God. It was like a sin at that time.
how important is your faith to you now in 2020? Thank you so much, Luis, for your transparency, for your service to the Commonwealth, for your service to the Latino community. You are really remarkable. Even, the publication that you do, the many philanthropic organizations that you support and your volunteerism and so forth. We really appreciate that. And I will be sure to put in the show notes information about Kentubano and any other information about perhaps contacting you that a listener, if a listener desires to do that. But thank you so much for appearing today and for sharing yourself and your time and your story. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Victoria, for letting me to share my experience. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, it was really, really nice to be here with you. So thank you again. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. I feel so proud to be an American, and I'm so proud of Luis and the immigrant spirit. I can learn so much from those attitudes, those mindsets, and that kind of determination. And now let's pray. Thank you, Father, for the United States of America. Thank you for the many freedoms and rights that we enjoy. Thank you for the immigrants like Luis and his family who work really, really hard to lift others up on their journey to chase and live out their dreams. May you and you alone be glorified. In Jesus' name, amen. Until next time, Dios primero y que Dios te bendiga. Chao.